The CHCC advocates for policies and initiatives that encourage small business participation and competition for government contracts. Doing business with government can be complex and daunting. Government contracting provides opportunities for Hispanic businesses to expand into new markets. In today's introductory webinar, we hope that you will take this programming as a refresher course and to give you baseline information on how to do business with the state of California and DGS. I would like to welcome our presenter, the Department of General Services Business Outreach Liaison, Procurement Division, Lucy Ann Radimski.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. As Michelle noted, my name is Lucy Ann Radimski. I am a Business Outreach Liaison with the Department of General Services within the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprises. I want to make a special note that I too supported a small business contracting with the state of California. So this theme is of great importance to me, and I'm happy to share it with you today. As you'll note, we'll be talking about a few topics today: selling to the state, small business disabled veteran enterprise certifications, and where to get your public procurement information. The objective of today's presentation is really to inform you as to the nature of state spending, the sheer amount of it that is available to you through solicitations and procurements, the requirements for individual solicitations from small business to Small Business Public Works to DVBE, the benefits around certification, the CAProcure registration and certification process, keywords and UNSPSC codes, the California State Contracts Register, which holds all live solicitations and how to access it, and the State Contract and Procurement Registration System, otherwise known as SKIPPers, which is the portal that holds all the past solicitation information and a great resource when you're doing research. As well, SB DVBE advocates that are at your service within the various departments across the state of California. And the commercially useful function, otherwise known as CUF. As you'll see, in the fiscal year 2019-20, the state of California spent $12 billion in procurements, goods and services that they acquired through prime contractors, subprime contractors, and those, of course, small business DVBEs. As you may also know, there is a certain level of participation of small businesses and DVBEs that we have requested and require of states' departments. In the fiscal year 2019-2020, we were able to achieve 3.8% of all contracting dollars that went to DVBEs, which exceeds the 3% threshold stipulated and mandated by code. So that's a great piece of news. We can always do better and we can always do more, but that is, and we've achieved our goal there. On the other hand, we missed slightly the 25% goal that state departments are asked to reach, realizing only 23.7% of all contracting dollars at a total of 2.8 billion. And I want to highlight the billion because there is tremendous opportunity there and services are needed by the state that you all can provide. There are various small business certifications. Oops. There's small business for the purpose of public works, and the disabled veteran business enterprises. All these various certifications require different levels of revenue and also of domiciling your company within the state of California, and also updating or checking within the DVA to assure that an individual is indeed a disabled veteran. So in regards to small business. The small business must be independently owned and operated. It cannot be dominant in their field of operation. And it has to be domiciled here in the state of California. Although other state small businesses can participate in California state procurements and solicitations, they will not be certified as a small business and cannot be certified as a small business due to the fact that their main office is not located in California. Also, its owners must be living and working out of the state of California. An important note. Other requirements, the small business has to have 100 or fewer employees. Their gross annual receipts, otherwise known as GARS, must be $15 million or less, and that's across 3 tax years. Or a manufacturer with 100 or fewer employees, but the GARS requirements are no longer appropriate. They do not have a GARS cap, which basically means they can have over $15 million across 3 previous tax years. And a micro business needs to be making $5 million or less. In terms of, oops, sorry about that. My screen is, the small business public works requirements. A business must have 200 or fewer employees and have GARS of $36 million or less. And the manufacturer of a small business public works must meet the GARS receipt, which is the $36 million or less over 3 tax years. Seems to be that my slides are a bit frozen. Apologies. Sorry about that.
While Lucianne is getting that fixed right now, we'll also like to take this time to let everybody know there's a Q&A function at the bottom. If you have any questions, start putting them in now. Lucianne will be taking some time out in between each part to ask for questions. So if you have any right now, please put them in.
So we can go right back to where we left off. I apologize for that. We moved on to the DVB eligibility requirements. And to be eligible for our DVB certification, you have to have 10% or more service-connected disability. And the disabilities are quite wide-ranging, so definitely look and research that. Be at least 1% owned by 1 or more disabled veterans. And limited liability companies must be wholly owned by 1 or more disabled veterans. Daily business operations must be managed and controlled by 1 or more disabled veteran. And the home office must be located in the United States. This was an opportunity for questions. So if there are any questions that people have, Alex, if there's any that have popped up, we'd be happy to answer them at this moment, or I can continue on.
Yes, there are a few that have popped in right now, actually. First one, Alondra Perez asks, what is a small business certificate for?
A small business certificate allows you to be recognized by state departments, and that can lead to preference. That leads you to have opportunities that are only given to small businesses. We also have reciprocity agreements. So the small business certification will be recognized by city and local entities, including university systems, so that you don't have to go through another certification process recognizing you as a small business. And understandably, the state of California wants to work with small businesses. You're at the heart of the economy, and you makes this economy's engine roll.
Thank you. Just to a few people who have asked, yes, this slide deck will be available after. We are also recording this and will be on the CHCC YouTube channel by tomorrow morning at the very latest. So going on, Shelly Ang asks, besides being small business, what category or business type should we be in order to be eligible?
I'm not quite sure I understand. So there's the DVB certification, there's a small business, there's a micro business, and then there is small business public works. So those are the certifications that we work with within the Office of OSDS.
Thank you. Thank you. From Brian Smith, would coffee from Peru qualify for this certification? I'm the middle person.
I'm sorry, would a company from Peru?
Yes, a company that sells coffee from Peru.
I don't believe so, because you need to be, that owners have to be domiciled here in the state of California, and the company needs to have most of their operations out of California as well.
Thank you. Next one from Gulmira. What is considered a small business? Is that based on the opportunity or the amount of staff?
As mentioned in my slide, it is 100 or less employees. And regarding your gross annual revenue, it has to be under $15 million across 3 tax years previous.
Thank you. Thank you. Next one, bear with me here. Do you have requirements for IT related work, projects, resources, or requirements?
Whether your IT goods or services, it's not necessarily taken into account. What we're looking for is really, in terms of certification, the number of employees and the revenues. Now, there's opportunities in solicitation wise that are dedicated to IT services or goods. So really what you actually provide is not taken into account. It's truly the size of your organization and your revenues.
Thank you. Thank you. We got 2 more here.
And of course, where you're located.
Thank you, Lucianne. We have 2 more here. Are you familiar with the state working with real estate brokerages, residential and or commercial?
Real estate brokerages. That my initial answer, I believe, is no. That being said, that question is very specific, and I'm happy to take it on as a research project just to assuage that I am giving you the correct information. My partner in crime and one of my colleagues, Jermaine Carter Gibson, is also with us today. And I don't know, Jermaine, if you have an answer that's more specific.
Yeah, well, what we have seen in relation to that is, like, for example, in COVID, we've had to procure temporary housing for people that were transitioning out of the hospitals. So there has been instances where the state has used different resources to get temporary properties and to purchase long-term properties as well. So we definitely have procured it, and so being a certified firm in that field would be beneficial.
Well, I'm so glad I asked, because
Perfect. We got a few more just popped in here. So next one I see at the top. Well, Pedro asked, how can we get a small business certification? I believe that's what this whole thing's about. So we'll be going through it here in a sec. And then also I have here from Laura, how long does it usually take to get certified as a small business?
A small business is a very quick process. Now, days, hours, it's short. I think within a week, if not sometimes even within 24 hours. The DVBE certification, however, is a bit longer due to the fact there needs to be confirmation from outside organizations.
Perfect. Brian follows up with this question about the coffee. He is the importer of the coffee. He is here in California. He is the one importing it in. He just wants to confirm if that.
Again, an excellent question.
I can help with that.
Jermaine?
So with him being domiciled in California, he can definitely be certified as a small. It doesn't matter where the products are coming from, as long as the business that we're doing business with is located in the state of California. So he can definitely be certified, and he can sell products that are imported to the state.
Perfect. And thank you for clearing that up, the attendee who was asking about that. Next one from Christina Kellogg. Being a nonprofit that is not an owned entity, would they be eligible?
I believe nonprofits are actually available, but again, Jermaine, I will defer to you because my experience with nonprofits has not been as robust.
Right. There is a nonprofit designation, but it doesn't have the same benefits of being a certified small business. So the benefits that come with your certification do not apply to nonprofits.
Okay.
And we're going to cover the benefits of certification here quickly.
Yes, sir. We got a few questions keep coming in, so we're just going to keep rolling here for a second. From Susanna, is there an expedited process for multiple certifications simultaneously?
I would believe that no. I mean, once you're going in for a small business certification, that is your certification. If you're going for a DVBE, you are considered a small business, but it's really a DVBE certification. But again,
and a little further clarification on that. During the process, it's going to ask you, and we'll show you this later as well, but it's going to ask you what certifications you're applying for, and you're going to check boxes. So you can check the box for, let's say, small business and DVBE and do one application instead of having to do it multiple times. So if you feel like you qualify for both small business and DVBE, you can do that all in one application.
Thank you. We're going to do 3 more questions here, and then we'll get going because we want to respect everybody's time. There will be other stopping points for questions, so don't worry, everyone. This one from Pedro. Small business public works eligibility requirement is different. Is it a different certification from the small business certification? And I can repeat that if you need.
Yes. And small business public works tends to be also very focused on certain state departments, like the Caltrans of the world. So it's very specific to a type of service that's being provided. But again, they do not have the GARS requirement of the 15 million. They just have the size requirement. And of course, the domiciling of the owners and also being present in California.
And I'll quickly add on to that. And guys, I promise you, a lot of these questions are going to be covered further in the presentation. So we'll definitely be getting to them. As far as the public works certification, if you fit within the small business certification, there's no reason to get the public works certification. It's only if you have outgrown the small business certification. So if you have more than 100 employees, or you make more than $15 million a year, then you would want to look into the public works certification if you outgrow the small business, because all of the benefits are the same.
Perfect, thank you. Really quick, and I think you're going to answer one of them right here from Ardalan. Where can we apply for SBE? I believe we'll probably get into that here pretty soon. And then final one just for right now from Susanna. Do you have an L3 classification in California? I think he's asking if the state of California has that classification.
And L3, so Jermaine, that is all you.
That classification exists, but it doesn't apply to any of our certifications.
Thank you so much. With that, Lucianne, you can go ahead and take it from here. Folks, keep putting stuff in the Q&A. We will be taking time to answer, and I believe Jermaine's even in there answering some directly. So go right ahead, Lucianne.
We love questions. There's no question we don't want to hear. So as we mentioned, certification is really important because it allows you a kind of a step up in the state, and also opportunities that larger companies will not have access to. So benefits of certification is where we're here talking about now. And as a certified company, you're added to the Department of General Services Certified Firm Database. And this database is searched by buyers across state departments who specifically want to work with small businesses. there's also what's called the small business preference. And this is a 5% bid preference. I'll show you how the formula works, but it is a incredibly important benefit that small business companies are given, because that 5% can make the difference between getting a procurement or a solicitation, winning it, and not. They apply this to competitive solicitations pretty much across the board. There are very few exceptions. So as I mentioned, we're going to go back to elementary school, high school math. You have two bidders per se. One is not a certified small business and one is. The bidder A has bid $2,000 less, but because of the 5% preference, we have estimated that there's a 5% reduction that we can actually put on the bidder B, which is the certified small business, remove it from their higher bid, thus giving them a $97,000 bid. Now, understandably, this is only for competition's sake. The certified small business can still receive the $102,000 that they bid, but they are being reviewed at $97,000 because we've taken that 5% preference off the initial bidder's lower rate. Ta-da, they win. The DVB incentive. So this applies to all competitive solicitations that include the DVB program requirement. And it's an incentive percentage, again, up to 5%, and must be identified within the solicitation. So it is clearly defined. It is not a guessing game. You will know from the onset when you're reading the solicitation what the percentage they have defined it as. And on top of it, it can be stackable. So if you are a small business and a DVB, there's incentives that you can add on top of one another. So it's not just one or the other. You don't have to choose. If you fall into multiple categories, those incentives all come toward your benefit. The SBDVB option. So this is for certified small businesses, or DVBE. And what's interesting about this is that departments looking for goods or services, or IT goods and services, between the amount of $5,000 and a cent and $249,999.99 can basically go out and search for either 2 small business quotes or 2 DVBE quotes. Now, understandably, they have to be apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And within the public works, it's $5,000 and a cent to $333,000. And they can only look at these 2 quotes and choose from those 2 options, thus severely reducing kind of the competition. So it's really important to get your name out there, talk about your services with the buyers so they keep you top of mind. Again, we have an opportunity for questions, as that may have been a lot of information that's really critical coming at you at a short time.
Thank you, Lucienne. We do, and then thank you, Jermaine. He was answering a few of them in the Q&A with them. First one from James up here. If my company is currently certified as a small business disadvantaged women-owned, can we additionally certify as veteran-owned company if qualified? Would we have to choose one?
I can help with that. So
yeah, I got cut off, so I apologize. I didn't hear the whole question.
No worries. The certification that they currently have is not a state certification. It's the federal certification. So they can, if anyone has certifications from the federal government, like minority-owned, disadvantaged, women-owned, any of those don't apply to state procurements. So you can definitely still be certified as a small business or a DVBE with the state if you have a federal certification. So you can definitely get certified with us.
Perfect. Thank you. This next one's from Hatham. What about a transportation business? Do we need any certification?
All companies, if they meet the requirements, should get certified. It is an absolute benefit to you.
Perfect. Shelly Ang has a question. What if we don't have a competitor for bidding?
Excellent question. I guess, Jermaine, I don't necessarily understand the question, because if there's no one else in the market that provides your services, you've done an incredible job finding a niche in the market. For the most part, I believe most solicitations demand at least one other. But again, I have not been involved in a situation where there has not been some other, competition involved or other solicitation. I don't, Jermaine, if you have any experience in that.
No, I would love to get further clarification on what the question is asking, as far as if there's no competitor for bid. So if you're asking if you are the only bidder to a given solicitation and no one else bids on it, I think this probably came in response to the small business option where they needed 2 quotes. So if they don't receive 2 quotes from either smalls or DVBEs, then at that point, they will go out to the public and do a competitive bid. So if they try to go to smalls and they don't get more than 2 bids, at least 2, then they have to go out to the public to be able to make that procurement.
Thank you. Thank you. I have one from Rick here, and I apologize with some of the lettering. Rick asks if he understands correctly, an SBE may have outgrown the certification of being an SVP and can apply for a PW certification. Does that mean that PW business is no longer receives the SBE advantages and incentives?
So I can take that because that was in response to something I said earlier. So in public works, so public works is the repair, alteration, or building of any public building or structure or property. So if you're in that field, as far as public works is concerned, then you can apply for a public works certification if you outgrow your small business certification. Now, as far as the benefits, all of the benefits are exactly the same between small business and small business for the purpose of public works, exactly the same. And that's why I said earlier, if you haven't outgrown the small business certification, there's no reason to get the public works certification because all of the benefits are exactly the same. So to answer your question, if you do outgrow and you get the public works certification, you would get the same exact benefits as if you had the standard small business.
Thank you. Thank you. Next one from Susanna. If a business receives that 5% competitive advantage for bidding purposes, are they notified during the process review?
It's automatic within the competitive bid. They apply this 5% in pretty much all competitive bids. So it's just done automatically. So I'm not sure you would be alerted, but it would just be a common practice across competitive bids with a few exceptions, as we mentioned.
Perfect. Thank you. Next one from Annette. Is there always a bid process?
There are some solicitations that are not publicly communicated and are done because it's a small enough dollar amount that they don't have to publicly announce the solicitation. But for the most part, all solicitations are made public through the CAProcure website.
Thank you. Thank you. Another one from Alondra. Can private companies also be certified?
Can private companies?
I believe that's, yes, private companies. I apologize. Yes.
Well, private companies that meet the requirements of small business, DVBE, small business public works, micro business, absolutely.
Perfect. Perfect. We got 2 more here from Melissa. What is the best way to market our companies if you're looking for a small business or DBEs between 500 and 1,000, sorry, 5,000, excuse me, to 249K? I believe we will
be covering marketing to state departments a little later in the presentation.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Perfect. And then last one from Ken Macias. I received an extension because of my certification was ending in 2020. How can I check the status of my SBE certification with the state?
I'll specifically send them the email address that they can reach out to get that question answered.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for all these questions. Lucianne, it looks like we're ready to go. And then for a lot of these questions, I just want to remind everybody, this is a series. We're going to be having 2 more webinars after this that goes even deeper into after you get approved and everything. So
as we mentioned, there is a portal, www.CAProcure.ca.gov. This is your go-to as a small business, as a DVBE, as a interested business looking for what solicitations are actually on the street. Now, understandably, if you are a certified company and you're logging in to this site, you're going to have access to a lot more information. If you're just interested to know what's out there, you can access the California State Government Marketplace and just begin looking, but you just will have limited information available to you. But I highly recommend everyone captures this on their web browser so they know to always go back to CAProcure.ca.gov, as this is a main entrance point for anything related to procurement information, advocate lists, training, research. So an incredible resource for everyone, and we're consistently updating it with new information. So definitely get to know the site. And you'll see up in the upper right-hand corner, that's where you log in and register. And that's where you'd begin your registration process as a small business or DVBE. Understandably, you'll begin here with creating your user ID and password. We have down below new bidder registration. That's if you are not currently certified, that's where you would start your process. This is the bidder registration. This is how you're going to start your profile and make sure that you're doing this with great care because it's important to have the right information in there. So you've registered as an SBDVBE and now you're certified. Woohoo! So now we can go back into CAProcure and access what is called the California State Contracts Register. This is the portal that has all the live and active solicitations. And so this page will show up for you once you are registered. And this basically gives you easy access to your profile to be able to update it and look into any notifications that you want to have based on your UN SPSC codes, which basically are the codes related to services and goods that the California State Departments use to define more precisely and more easily what types of services and goods they're looking for within solicitations. So no certification record, we'll get started. And we can apply for certification. The SBDVB certification information is all clearly laid out here. It helps you understand what you're going to need to be able to get certified and all the different types of paperwork and information you should have on hand. We really want to encourage you to have this information ready ahead of your certification process so you're not having to stop and look everywhere for that information. So before you begin the application for certification, you need to be prepared to upload the following. So you need your federal tax returns. You need the IRS verification of your firm's tax identification number, otherwise known as TIN, your quarterly contribution return and report of wages, and your award of entitlement e-benefits service benefit verification or retired retainer letter for DVBE companies. And for specific business structures, you may be required to include other documents, including small business, and they're laid out within those links for small businesses and DVBE. And then you click on Get Certified. And you continue to fill out this information, adding in the appropriate documentation that you need. And once that's completed, your application will be reviewed and you will be notified. We want to also bring attention to keywords and UNSPSC codes. Now, understandably, a keyword is a descriptive word of a good or service, like concrete, environmental, legal. And the U and SGSC codes are classifications that have been identified. And there's a code that basically is the overarching code. And that always generally has the 00 at the end. And then as we get more specific, like let's take fruit, for example, fruit being a certain number with a 00 at the end. But then if you have red apples or green apples, those numbers at the end of that code will be different to identify these specific products. If you need help getting certified, jot down this information. We are at your service via email or phone, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and happy to help you. We will be able to walk you through the certification process. We'll be also able, as Jermaine mentioned, to help you in the case you have an extension and you want to understand the status of your extension and your new certification. So I have another opportunity for questions in case there are any. And my lovely colleague, Jermaine, who is helping me as well.
Don't see any more. Jermaine's answering them in the
Well,
the last two right here in the chat.
there's one question from Cindy that I was going to answer specifically, but I wanted to address to the group. So she asked, once we get certified, do we need to get on CMAS to be able to contract with the state? So a couple things. CMAS is going to actually be covered in the part 2 webinar, but we'll cover this really quickly. Is that yes, if the goods and services that you provide are purchased off of a CMAS schedule, which stands for California Multiple Award Schedule, then you would want to get on a CMAS after your certification. And we'll show you a little bit later on how to do research on past purchases to check the acquisition method to know if the goods and services you provide are purchased off of a CMAS schedule. And for IT products and services, they are, Cindy. So you would want to get on a CMAS schedule after getting certified. And we will cover all of that in the part 2 webinar.
Perfect. Next one from Pedro. And then Brian's asking if you can show that previous slide with the contact info, please. Thank you. Perfect. Pedro does ask, can we have multiple users to look for opportunities? I believe he's saying signed in.
I believe you could add a secondary contact information to be able to access. But Jermaine, I don't know if there is a limit to the number that they can have associated with their company.
I apologize. I was putting the contact information in the chat. What was the question?
Can you have multiple users accessing CAProcure potentially with different contact or different login?
Right. So you'll only have one login. So you can have multiple users, but they will all use the same login information to access your certification.
Perfect. That's all the questions I have for right now. So Lucianne, you're good to continue.
Thanks. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, the California State Contract Register, get to know this. It is a very user-friendly portal. You can access all the active state solicitations. You can do simple searches, more advanced searches. And what it really provides you is a snapshot and also more specific information on the actual solicitation requirements. Now, when you look at that initial page that shows the solicitation, you're going to be able to see a number of really important pieces of information. The buyer contact information, the solicitation deadline info. And I want to highlight the solicitation deadline because there is no forgiveness in solicitation deadlines. Once the deadline has been set, it has been set. If that means 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 8 in the morning, you need to have everything into the department by that time, not 2 o'clock and 1 minute. It really needs to be done prior to. The bidder conference information. Now, a bidder conference sometimes is a prerequisite to participate in solicitation. So keep close attention to that information, whether or not it is a mandated participation. Relevant UN SBSC codes will be associated with every solicitation. And again, we encourage you as you grow your business or you pivot your business, that you make sure your UN SBSC codes are up to date, that you begin potentially to add new UN SBSC codes with solicitations that you feel you can provide the services for, and that you want to follow, because you can get updates based on future solicitations associated with those UN SBSC codes. And then of course, the solicitation bid package, which needs to be read from top to bottom and is very important to follow by the letter, because these specific information and the specifics and the requirements are going to be very important to your ability to be competitive in the solicitation process. And of course, too, you can place or access vendor ads. So within each solicitation, as a subcontractor or a small business that really wants to promote their services, and you cannot necessarily do the job and provide all the services, you can market your services directly to vendors that are actually interested in the solicitation as well. And they will be alerted when vendor ads are available within that solicitation. Here is the California State Government Marketplace page again with the information related to your profile. This is the piece of the puzzle allows you to search more specific. So the event name you can place in as keywords that you're looking for that are related to a solicitation. The event ID, if you happen to know it and have already searched it in the past, you can quickly put in the event ID and then have it pop up. Also, you can search on what are the solicitations that a specific department has available currently. And we can also do advanced search criteria, which will allow you to put in specific dates. They'll allow you to put in specific UN SPSC codes, certification levels. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to be able to hone your search so you're getting the solicitations that are meaningful to you. So as I mentioned, we have the start date from an end. We have the UN SPSC codes, the service areas, understandably what areas you're able to serve, whether that's county level, and then the contractor license type. And you can save these search criteria as well. So that's really helpful. So this is an example of a solicitation posting. You'll notice the event ID is listed up on the left-hand corner, the department that has released the solicitation. You have as well the contact information. In this case, it's a Maxwell Moore. You have his phone number and his email. When you're contacting a buyer, one also important piece of information you should have available to you is a capability statement. And if you don't know what a capability statement is, we are happy to provide that insight and help you create that for yourself. It's basically a one-page snapshot that lists your company information, what differentiates you, your UN SPSC codes, and your various certification. It's just a wonderful way of someone to quickly analyze who you are, what you offer, and how you fit in terms of certification. The pre-bid conference, in this case, on this page, it's non-mandatory. But again, if in the case it would be mandatory and you did not participate, you would no longer be able to participate in the solicitation. And then another piece of important information, the event end date. So as I mentioned, there are specific times associated, not just days, but times where you need to have the information in by. And then below we have the UNSPSC classifications and the contractor licensing type. So these are all areas highlighted. You have the vendor ad area right up here and the view event package. So view event package is all the various documents you need to review from start to finish that detail exactly what they're expecting in terms of information and requirements. The post vendor ads is the area where you can actually talk about your organization. Now, understandably too, When you're responding, you need to keep it to 2,000 characters. Open for questions, as that is another important piece in CAProcure and getting in and finding live solicitations.
None coming in yet. We'll give it a quick minute here for people currently typing right now. Once again, I'd like to remind folks, please use the Q&A function to answer or to ask any questions, and we will get it answered live. If not, we are also typing in answers here as well. Seeing no more questions right now, Lucianne, if you want to carry on.
Wonderful. So this is the another incredibly important resource, and I highly recommend that you access Skippers when you're trying to understand how to market your company. Skippers is the portal that holds all of the past procurements, so you can understand what department asked for what services, under what type of contract, and in terms of the value of the purchase. So you can get a sense as to how much state departments are spending on your goods and services. And it's also a great tool to maybe determine, if you're thinking about expanding into other goods and services, how are those goods and services being purchased and by whom? Within also Skippers, you will have access to the buyer names. So you're able to create a list of contacts that are associated with specific departments and certain purchases. And this is a great marketing tool in terms of research. So use Skippers to your benefit. So here is, again, your work center. And you have within the CAProcure site these 4 categories below: sell to the state, get certified, find public procurement information, and find training resources, which within each of those, you're going to find a plethora of information that's going to be really helpful to you. So when you're trying to find public procurement information, that is where you're going to find Skippers. You're also going to find the live solicitations through CSCR. You can also access what are the various LPAs, which are leveraged procurement agreements. You can also see a list of small business and DVB businesses across California. You can also access progress payments. You can also access the various agency resources from the Buying Green, the environmental preferable purchasing incentives that most solicitations and departments are working towards, the list of state agencies with approved purchasing authority, and all sorts of other information that's really helpful to you as a small business and trying to understand how the state purchases. So here we are, Skippers. This is a typical page within Skippers. Again, there's an option to be able to do a more specific search, but from the get-go, you will have a list of all past solicitations in front of you. So you can look at it by date. Think about the emergency services, for example, the date where there was a specifically high level of emergencies, whether that's natural disasters, the fires. You can look to see who were the departments most active in that time period. So it's just an incredible resource for you all to get comfortable with. Questions?
There are a few here. Next from Brian. A little more personal question, so it might be something offline, but would it be acceptable for the coffee producers to mail directly to the state/consumer, and then he would be taking care of the invoice to pay the producers?
We'll answer that for him directly.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Next one, Susanna, are subcontracting possibilities listed as well?
Generally, the subcontract opportunities would be handled by primes. Prime contractor meaning you are the lead on the solicitation or procurement. And that's where the vendor ads can really be an important tool for you to use. If you, again, as I mentioned, don't feel like you can take on all the services, that vendor ad access is where you'd want to promote your ability to handle the defined level of services that you can offer. And vendors look at it. They want to participate in getting an SP preference, because understandably, if a prime is using a small business, they can benefit from that 5% preference. So they need you as much as you need them.
Perfect. Next one from Rick. Do you have EPP goals on any of your solicitations?
Jermaine, I'm going to give that to you. I'm not exactly sure.
I'm sorry, Rick, can you define EPP in relation to your question? Because there's a couple definitions. I want to make sure that we're answering it correctly.
Sure. While we're waiting for that, I did just see one pop up in the chat. It looks like from Iris. Since one can't access the portal unless certified, how does one get an idea of what type of contracts are available for bid?
You can access the CSCR without being registered. You can view live solicitations. You just will not have all the information available to you that a registered individual would have.
Perfect.
But you'll have enough to be dangerous. You'll have enough to be able to make some decisions whether or not you want to move forward and potentially bid, and also be certified and get registered within the state.
And to piggyback on that really quickly is keep in mind that this is the reason why you register as a bidder first before you become a certified firm, because every company in the world can register as a bidder and bid on opportunities, right? So you don't have to be a certified firm to be able to bid on an opportunity. So you don't have to be certified to access the opportunities. You don't have to be certified to check past purchases. You have all of that access through the website. It's just being a certified firm gives you all of the additional benefits that we covered earlier. And so Rick defined it as an environmentally preferred purchases. So yes, there may be, those may be included in solicitations. If so, they're going to be spelled out specifically in the solicitation the same way that the DVB incentive would be spelled out specifically. So it's not a blanket thing, but it will be spelled out specifically if it applies. And you want to check the bid package for that.
Perfect. And I think that's it for right now. Lucianne, you're good to go.
Okay. So another valuable resource to you are small business and DVB advocates. And most all departments will have a designated individual. And through the CAProcure site, when you're looking for resources within the category designated for resources, you will be able to access the list of DVB advocates, which is continually updated. Now, understandably, as I mentioned, when you're contacting an advocate, it's great if you're doing a kind of a cold email to have that capability statement available to you and really be very specific and do your research. You want to know what types of purchases they've done in the past. You want to be coming with an educated message in the sense that you've done your due diligence, you know what they need, and you want to talk to them about how you're going to be able to provide those same services. So when you're added to the database, again, as we mentioned, it's important to market your product. And we have a lot of resources out there for you. And then by finding these small business and DVB advocates, along with the buyers, keep that list. And as continually check in to the list located on the CAProcure site, because there are changes in names. And if you're finding that you're getting an email that's not getting through and it's coming back to you, that's the opportunity for you to go back into CAProcure and assure that there hasn't been a change of staff. So as we mentioned, when you're looking for find training and resources, that is going to be the designated area where you're going to find the advocates list. And it's just located just here amongst the research and marketing, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th theme under learn how to market your business. And this is the page you'll be directed to. And just above is a link that takes you to the advocate directory directly. And this is the list of advocates. You'll also notice that there's some highlighted departments. these are departments that have an SB first policy. So again, these are departments that are really interested and more so in trying to work with small businesses. And so another reason to maybe kind of put them higher priority on your list in the case that you have the appropriate goods and services that they need. So you'll see the department on the left-hand side. The departments that I listed that are SB first. This is whether or not they also, in terms of construction, so that would be the Small Business Public Works. And so this brings us to a really exciting new piece of news that has been created specifically to highlight small business and DVBEs. Understandably, emergency service spending has risen year after year. And with COVID certainly was even more so. Now, the Small Business DVB Emergency Registry is only for registered small businesses and DVBEs. What it does, it allows small businesses and DVBEs to put themselves on this listing that details what services that they offer through the UNSPSC codes and also through keywords, so that buyers looking to work with small businesses and looking for services and goods they believe that small businesses can provide can access either through a keyword or a UNSPSC code. It was recently launched in the past month and a half, and we already have almost over 400 small businesses and DVBEs registered, and we have a considerable buyer presence as well. So it was an incredibly successful program. So what we asked, however, though, before deciding to register your business is that you clearly understand that by registering your business, you are saying that you can provide emergency services as of yesterday. We want to make sure that these emergency services are available at any given time, being that emergencies are so difficult to plan for. And we want to maintain this list so that the buyers can be assured that who they're reaching out to is fully prepared to serve them at a moment's notice. So again, which businesses just shine up? So businesses that are currently ready and able to support state of California in emergency, as emergencies, of course, require a fast around-the-clock turnaround. And one of the elements you're going to have to put into your profile is a number that can be accessed over a 24-hour period. So please don't put in information that is going to send to a message machine. We need to have live people available around the clock that are able to help a state in terms of an emergency situation. The emergency categories are listed here, although they are not, this is not exhaustive. We have tried to make the emergency categories as broad as possible so that a number of services can fall in. We have emergency service categories in terms of miscellaneous services and miscellaneous goods, in case you're not finding that your good or services fit nicely into one of these categories. And in order to register, you'll need a certification number, your emergency categories, of course, your description of your products and services, your business address, and the contact information, as I mentioned before. We have an incredible resource for you. It's a web page dedicated to kind of the step-by-step process as to why we built the emergency registry, how you can access it. There's an instructional guide, and we also have the direct link so you can begin to register and to receive approval. And if you have any more questions or more information, this email address, which is quite long but effective, will help you get the answers you need. I'll just take a moment if anyone wants to write that down, but it's SBDVBE Emergency Registry at dgs.ca.gov. Now we're going to talk about commercially useful function. And so all California certified small businesses and DVBEs bidding on participating in a state contract, regardless of the procurement approach or the payment method used, must perform a commercially useful function. So what is a commercially useful function, otherwise known as CUF? So an SB-DVB certified firm performs CUF when they are doing all the following. You're executing a distinct element of the work of the contract. You're performing, managing, or supervising the work. You're performing work that is normal for the firm's business, services, and functions. You're negotiating price, determining quality and quantity, ordering, installing, and making payment. And you're not subcontracting a portion of the work greater than expected by industry practices. So basically, CUF is you're doing what you said you could do, and it fits within your wheelhouse. And you're not subcontracting to a degree where you're actually no longer actually performing the work. You are not performing CUF if you have an extra participant in the transaction, contract, or project. You're not performing CUF if you're not being used to perform the work as stipulated in the bid. And this can also come from the prime, and they're just using you as a small business to get the incentive. Prime is also required to ensure that by bringing you into the solicitation, you are performing the work that they said you were going to perform. And then you are no longer used to provide goods and services listed in the initial bid response. So it's not just an onus on small businesses to perform CUF, but it's also an onus on the prime. And you need to protect yourself. You're not being used to get them any sort of priority or incentive that they have not honored their contractual agreement with you with. So quick review of where we came from and where we're at. We talked about the state spend and really the marketing dollars, or the dollars available for solicitations and goods and services provides tremendous opportunity for you to get access to that as well. And we want you to be successful. The requirements of each certification, the benefits to being certified, the CAProcure registration certification, the keywords, UNSPSC codes, the CSCR, the skippers, the advocates, and the CUF, commercially useful function. So along with the resources we already provide through eProcure, there's a lot of incredible partners that we have out there across California that can serve you in helping you also address working with the state, getting your capability statement up to par, and looking for other opportunities that your certification will allow you. So the Small Business Administration, for example, and then the Small Business Development Centers, and Veterans and Business Network being a few. There's also the PTACs, which are located throughout California, and they are the Procurement Technical Advisory Councils or centers, and they are also another incredible resource for you that we can certainly add into the chat so you can have access to that as well. So we'd love for you to follow us on LinkedIn. We are consistently posting events, potential solicitation that might be of interest to you. So we are located at the Office of Small Business and DVB Services within LinkedIn. So please get on LinkedIn after this session and follow us. There's an opportunity as well to book one-on-one appointments with our staff. So this is the QR code. You're welcome to scan that and have access. We will also be putting a link that allows you to have access to it as well. So no need to get your smartphones out if you want to continue listening in. This is my information. I will be happy to provide the support you need. And again, we are a team of 8 available to you at most all times. And we'd be happy to make sure that you feel comfortable in certifying your company, you feel supported, and that, again, we can lead to some success contracting with the state. If you have general inquiries, please reach out to businessoutreach@dgs.ca.gov. And thanks so much for participating today. It's been a pleasure and an honor to speak to all of you.
Thank you so much, Lucienne. Everyone, before we head out today, we also want to remind you, this is a series. We have another one next week. We're going to be right back here, I believe 10 a.m., I believe, or 10:30, I'll double check. But you are already registered for that one, which is great. Then afterwards, there will be a break, obviously, for Thanksgiving, and we will go on December 1st, will be the final one of the series. We also want to let you know, and I'll put it in the chat right.
Alex, you just got muted.
Sorry about that. What I also just put in the chat is we are going to be having our Elevate event, I believe the day before our next one on the 16th. So you have the 16th, which will be our Elevate event, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly of contracting. And that's not just state and federal. That is private, that is corporate, that is everything. And you get to hear from folks who've done a little bit of everything there. So we encourage you to sign up and register for that one. Like I said, I'll repeat myself just to be sure. Our next event will be on the 17th. After that, we'll take a week off for Thanksgiving, so everybody can enjoy their Thanksgiving, and we will move on for December 1st will be our final part of this series. Once again, thank you all for joining us today, and I want to thank Lucienne for being such a great presenter, and Jermaine for helping out in the chat there. We had a lot of questions. I think I see 56 here in the chat, so we appreciate everyone who attended. We appreciate you being involved, and we appreciate you being here and learning more, and we hope we're able to help you grow your business and grow your company and what you're going to be doing here and getting more opportunities. With that, thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll be seeing you all soon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.